At a time where Disney is focusing with an investor war, recruiting activist investors so that they can get the correct directors onto the board. And by correct, I obviously mean the ones that support Bob Iger.
Hey Bob, if you're in the audience, go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
It's strange to think that this isn't even their biggest issue. We have shareholders who own billions of dollars of shares coming out and go, well, you don't even have a single strategic idea that would benefit the company. Here's one for you. Fire Bob Iger. Move every office out of California. Fire anyone who could look at the marketing of Echo and not think we need to do the exact opposite of everything there.
If I'm a badass, then anybody can be a badass. Am I right?
Chalk talk. We're ASL. So excited for people to see that the result of this collaboration.
As a gay person, I feel very proud to see that on screen.
Disney is a significant media company, and now we need board members with deep media experience. It's the people with deep media experience which are the problem. Because now Disney has been failing for long enough that all the people with the vast amount of experience at failing are the ones that you need to get rid of. Now you need the people that watched them fail and thought, I am not going to do that.
You learn from your mistakes, and that's what we will do.
This is why it's strange to have support for CEO Bob Iger at a time when he's getting paid £31.6 million in 2023, which sounds amazing, although it's dollars, not pounds, until you find out that in 2021 he got $45.9 million. It's bizarre that someone could have a pay cut that significant while also still be that overpaid. Why in this picture does he remind me so much of Arvin Sloan from Alias? Hey, what can I say? One evil person just looks like another.
As they decide whether to share or to shaft.
And at this point, I just think he's trying to hang on for as long as possible to pull in that wage packet. Because we are still down in stock value from where we were 5 years ago, pulling in over $30 million a year with one tactic, blaming the previous CEO, Bob Chapek, for all of his problems, despite the fact that Chapek was only CEO for a couple of years. And what we're witnessing now is Bob Iger feeling the effects of his own decisions.
Just seems like you two are a lot alike. You're both literal geniuses.
And he's not going to turn this around. He doesn't have the balls to turn this around, because solving Disney's problems at this point would simply be a matter of will. You don't even need the intelligence to understand why things are a problem at this point. The problems are so glaringly obvious, the only thing you need to do is to have the balls to fire them. We're at a point where all the people costing you money are so proud and open about it, they literally brag about it in interviews.
I really wanted this film to be different to Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was a good film.
I have a lot of hearing privilege.
That's a perfect example of how representation can have positive consequences, you know.
You don't need to be the sharpest tool in the shed to understand this by now. You simply need to be able to handle the press. Because after you've spent years virtue signaling over this stuff, if you suddenly start firing people because they support it, the media are going to come after you. The few that are left, anyway. Even large news outlets can't avoid the economic reality that news is dying. Just like Disney, actually. Maybe we shouldn't care about the opinions of people who are so repulsive that nobody wants to read their work.
What I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil.
But Bob, on the off chance that you're watching this video, maybe you've typed into Google how to be a CEO for dummies. Let me give you an example. Algorithms and straight men are to blame for fewer diverse films. She also said that getting a movie project off the ground is always a challenge. Good. So now, Bob, you know what you need to do. I think it's a challenge for a lot of filmmakers to make unusual or unique things. Have you ever considered that nobody made it before? Because there isn't a market for it.
You do not get to choose.
It's my show.
Because this is one of those sentences where some people will read it and think, oh, actually, that sounds quite good, until you find out what she means by it. She thought it was so important in the movie to cut to a scene where someone was using a motorcycle in their last pregnancy trimester. I thought it was so touching that she was on a bike, even in that condition. But 99% of the people giving money are straight men. They're not going to relate to what I'm talking about. God! If your idea of a good movie is riding a bike while pregnant, I'm glad it's hard for you to get projects off the ground. And if the people giving the money are the same as the audience, that's also good. Because there can only be one set of values within a movie. One morality, one person's idea of what is right and what is wrong. And that should appeal to the majority of the audience. That should appeal to the dominant culture within the nation. And it's everybody else's job to fit in with it.
Some of those people are going to say, for a
Tell
second,
it to the judge. The judge is the public.
If your priorities as a filmmaker are the majority audience shouldn't be represented. No, I want to talk about how we need to be pregnant on a bike. Then you should remain in the small percentage of filmmakers, who film their own stuff on a camera and post it on TikTok. Because it definitely shouldn't be in a cinema. You haven't come up with a single strategic idea that would benefit shareholders. I think I've got one for you, mate.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate. I stand against hate.
Now, this is Disney, an entertainment company, where the best marketing that Disney Marvel have put out in recent times isn't even from Disney.
You're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice.
I think you could show that to Disney's marketing department and they wouldn't know why it was good. I mean, the film won't be, but the clip was good. No, instead, Disney Marvel, they have different priorities.
What is it you like?
Nuts.
They actually plan their entertainment around the real world. I can't have a story because some events happen in actual real life. And I can't help thinking this is because of the writers. Oh, I can't do that. How am I supposed to cope with the world? I'm so stressed. I had to have an extra shot of wheatgrass in my soy latte this morning. You can't expect me to vote and write at the same time.
The words that when you look at them on Tuesday are not as bad as you remember them being on Monday afternoon.
I'd wear my thumbs out on Twitter. And I have to say that if you are looking for ideas on how to save the company, the media isn't going to help you. The MCU's troubles might be more in physical media releases. Marvel should bundle films and series related to their newest releases. A bundled release of Captain Marvel, WandaVision, and Miss Marvel series could have been labelled the Marvel Starter Pack. Thought you were supposed to be pro the environment. That would have created so many unused CDs, it would have caused the turtle apocalypse. And this is exactly the problem with Disney and Bob Iger. Because at this point, the problem is so obvious, even the thickest person can understand it.
I take responsibility.
There really is only two options. Either you don't have the will to do it because you're a coward, in which case you need to be fired for your job, or you're unwilling to do the changes which are necessary because you support the direction things are going in which case you're going to run the company into the ground and need to be fired. You're either killing the company deliberately or hanging on for the cash until somebody drags you out kicking and screaming.
Almost there.
Now, even the media know that Hollywood is in trouble. Where are the blockbusters? As this was a year where even the BBC came out and called it the era of the flopbuster. They're in so much trouble, we're having to invent new language just so we can accurately describe the impacts that it's having. And in this piece about the 5 burning questions for Hollywood, Disney are in so much trouble, they get their own question. Marvel was the envy of the movie business, but boy, how things have changed. Disney superhero films are bombing. They keep announcing, then abandoning Star Wars spin-offs and sequels, and their stock is languishing, setting stage for a new investor fight.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't care.
No one cares about late-night television, even the people that watch late-night television. Okay, I've just read their next sentence. It isn't just democracy that hangs in the balance. Variety, are you trying to join them? And it's got so bad that nobody knows which conglomerates will be left standing, because with the sheer amount of mergers that are going on across massive companies, that when you're losing this much money, anything's possible. Even if it ends up with companies split in half and sold different ways. So when you're in this much trouble, you would assume it would be all hands on deck. What is the problem? Well, it's obvious. Let's fire the problem. Except that's not the plan in Disney or Hollywood as a whole. No, they have a different plan. Let's double down, folks.
Yes, we know. We know everything. Thanks. And you know nothing.
BBC hits back. The show will continue to proudly celebrate diversity. We will proudly go where no man has gone before. Bankruptcy.
It's a shame you're not a woman anymore. She'd have understood.
Yes, our credit cards won't be the only thing that gets cut off this year, because despite what some people would lead you to believe, everything isn't equal. In life there are hierarchies of everything, including hierarchies of value. One person's morality isn't the same as a different person's morality. There is one, which is better than the other. And if you want the audience to like your show, you better make sure that you put their morality into it.
You bring one more peasant into my penthouse, Chet, I will throw her off the balcony myself.
A hero isn't just a hero because of his actions. A hero is a hero because his actions are what you deem to be good.
You stupid woman with your weird child!
And these values are exclusive. If you make a hero do actions which someone from Hollywood thinks is good, the rest of the world will see them as a villain.
At the end of the day, this is a story of representation, and it matters.
For this, you can look at She-Hulk, Velma, or Echo, Kit from Willow, the protagonist from almost any series on my channel.
And they're going to boycott Disney?
They already are.
Which might be one of the the reasons why Disney isn't doing too well, even compared to their rivals. Like, Hollywood may be suffering because they're all employing these lunatics, but Disney is especially bad, getting beaten by Universal when it came to ticket sales. 2024 was the first time since 2014 they didn't have a single film earn $1 billion, which, considering how inflation is skyrocketing, is actually genuinely impressive. 30% easier to hit that number now than it was 3 years ago, and you're still failing at it. But maybe there's a shining light in the darkness. I mean, Percy Jackson's viewership went up 22% with episode 3, so I guess it's not all bad. Disney executives knew about egregious conduct by ex-distribution VP and did nothing, SA suit claims. It's mostly bad, but not all bad.
The industry talks a lot about identity.
Percy Jackson's creator said the original books did not explore Medusa's character because the title hero lacked the bandwidth for deconstructing the patriarchy.
That's not acceptable behavior. It is embarrassing.
It's mostly bad, but it's not all bad. We're doing 22% better in episode 3 for the demographic of people who have low standards, so at least that's something.
I think you're going to see it twice.
Echo is loud and proud. Disney's indigenous series is exactly what Marvel needs right now. Can you see the difference in marketing between Sony and Disney? Because Madame Web may not get better reviews than Echo did, but at least they had somebody involved in the production who knew what the audience wanted.
That when you see Madame Web, you're gonna love it.
And I think one of the biggest issues that comes from this is that everybody knows what the problem is. It's just that the people who are the problem don't want to admit they're the problem, and so desperately try and spread out things to as many different excuses as possible. And because they blacklist anyone who tells the truth, it means that nobody is just going up to Bob Iger and going, "It's your fault, you need to get fired."
Is terrified that one day he'll be discovered as the aging, talentless hack that he really is.
Because they would blacklist anyone who tells the truth, and the media would come after them because they're telling the truth, it means there's a huge bulk of people just throwing out massive cope, like trying to explain away all the problems like some lunatic with a conspiracy board. When it comes to Hollywood, there's more Polaroids and pieces of string than anyone ever thought possible. So you get entirely disingenuous titles, such as LA film and TV production approached the lowest ever levels amid the strikes. While technically true, that title is so misleading it verges on lie. Because yes, it approached its lowest ever levels amid the strikes, but in the second paragraph, the decline marks the 4th consecutive quarterly drop in shooting. It's a posh way of saying it's consistently dropped for a year. Filming was blocked for 4 months, but it was already dropping for the previous 8. What the title should really be is Hollywood was stupid enough to strike after killing their industry. Why the fall of comic book movie culture is inevitable. It's on a long enough timescale, it was always going to collapse. But these are the people that killed it.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
Black girl magic! It's not that the fantasy heroes have been strip-mined. Comics have lasted for decades. There are way more stories than you've made movies out of. They didn't run out of ideas. These people killed the IPs, and that's a problem. When you're the CEO of Disney, and they were one of your most successful properties. So are you going to do anything about the people that killed your IPs and cost you billions of dollars?
Dreams really can come true pretty fast, too.
Or are you going to cope?
The industry talks a lot about identity. We did it.
Make up lies to cover the people responsible, because we'll blame anyone except the people doing it. Just like we'll blame anybody except the people responsible. Because even your reward shows nobody cares about now. Why would people watch an award show where the most despicable people celebrate themselves and try and tell everybody else how they should live their lives? There is one award show that people liked because he actually roasted the people that deserve to be roasted.
Look, talking of all you perverts, shut up. Shut up. I don't care.
Yeah, we didn't have him back after that, did we?
You'll be pleased to know this is the last time I'm hosting these awards.
Instead, we had this guy who I'm assuming is famous in America. I mean, Ricky Gervais, famous around the world. Instead, we're going to replace him with this guy that nobody knows, who after the Emmys spent the next week going around complaining that nobody liked him.
You want a perfect monologue? Yo, shut up. Yeah, you're kidding me, right? I wrote some of these, and they're the ones you're laughing at.
Oh, everyone's entitled to their opinion. You can't please everybody. Have you tried to please anybody? I'd love to know. Because your performance presenting the Emmys was so bad, The Independent did a compilation of it. All the times the host bombed in the Golden Globes.
White people stole everything. That's hilarious. I don't care. It's just that the room is really white.
Why would we get a comedian to host the Golden Globes who apologizes for his own jokes? I'm sorry, I know that was really bad.
Fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift. I swear. There's just more to go to here. Sorry about that.
Oh, please don't attack me, random bint.
I don't care anymore. I'm joking. I never did.
And when I say everybody knows who's to blame for all of this, I do mean it. Even Meryl Streep is going, Barbie saved the movies last summer and all of our jobs. I mean, we were going to fire everybody and go back to making movies for the majority of people that go to the audience. Men. But now Barbie's come along and saved all of us. We can get back to the hard work of making a pregnant woman riding a motorbike.
I think the success review-wise of our film shows that our stories are worth telling.
Or a pregnant woman beating up men who can't hear and has one leg. She looks like she'd be out of breath hanging up the washing. But look, there are some times when I'm recording these videos thinking, maybe I'm just being a bit too harsh. I mean, yes, Bob Iger is presiding over the destruction of his entire company, but it's not like he doesn't have strategic ideas to benefit shareholders. Bob is focusing his attention on the big bucks, the big ideas, the major IPs. That's why Bob is focusing on Star Wars. Yes, suing a Star Wars themed car wash called Star Wash in Chile. Better costumes than most of the TV series.
The Star Wars fan base really seems to be the most kind of toxic.
And I guess when it comes to Star Wars, that's the best thing to be doing with it, because it even managed to kill J.J. Abrams' career. Although if we're lucky, that's not the only one.
I like to make men uncomfortable.
And it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person.
I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
Because she is the perfect hire for Disney. The perfect example of why you're causing your own problems. Art can be activism. Yeah, we know what yours is, love. It's against the majority of the audience.
It is important to be able to look into the eyes of a man and say, I am here.
Yes, yes.
That's why when it comes to the next Star Wars movie with Daisy Ridley, I mean, she's doing her best, desperately trying to save Star Wars' reputation, despite the almost deliberate self-destructive behavior that Disney is making decision-wise for it. Daisy being one of the few people to actually try and stand up for the fans a bit in a Star Wars series. Because remember, we've already had this.
Some of the fan base have decided to attack Moses Ingram online. Just sickened me to my stomach. You're no Star Wars fan in my mind.
That was one of Disney's most recent attempts of marketing Star Wars with Kenobi. Oh no, the bigotry was just blown out of proportion in the fandom. And it absolutely was. The interactions I've ever had with people have always been wonderful and supportive. I've only ever been embraced. It's like, yeah, that's great. You've decided not to attack the fans. Although, there was a correct answer to this. Oh yeah, the bigotry in the fandom, that was completely blown out of proportion. Although it's absolutely true when it comes to the director. Yeah, the director, massive bigot, but the fans, they're great. We really need to look at the director, though, because she's on video spouting it.
2024 now, and I think it's about time that we had a woman to shape the story. Every single piece of work that I've ever created has a piece of activism in it.
I don't know if people in Hollywood have noticed, but it's not enough just to go, oh, I think the fans are fine. No, it's about time you stood up for your industry against the people who are destroying it. That's why it's funny when someone was talking to Robert Downey Jr. and says, you know what, Marvel effed everything up, and you should ask for $1 gazillion. I know what that number should be, and I want the first dollar gross of every ensuing movie. That's what I'd do. And Robert Downey Jr. said, that sounds quite hostile. I said, yes. Maybe that's what's necessary. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but when Hollywood has been blacklisting people who disagrees with them, maybe the attitude that those people deserve is hostility. When your entire industry is being destroyed with attitudes such as, oh, art can be activism, then what is required is a counterbalance voice. It is something on the opposite side that balances things. If someone's running 20 miles to the left and you're like, I just don't want to have an opinion and I want to stand here and not do anything, well, then you're going to get dragged. What is required is the people who actually make things good to come out and be like, look, I know my value, and if you need me to save your entire industry, then you know what the cost is. And one part of the cost of getting you involved to save the industry is they also get rid of the other people, because otherwise they'll drag you into one of their movies and destroy your reputation.
I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
You're no Star Wars fan in my mind.
With their activism. And if you want the perfect example of how fast you can destroy your reputation by going back to an older property and getting involved with people like this, well, look no further than David Tennant.
And a lot of us on the production team had the problems with that, of associating disability with evil.
But I think one of the saddest days for Disney is when we found out that they weren't even making an Eternals TV series. They were going to until the movie bombed, and then they decided to cancel it. Because that isn't just a loss for a Disney, that is a loss for the whole world. If the Eternals movie saved lives, it went above and beyond to save lives. Can you imagine how many people died because Disney couldn't even be bothered to make the TV series? I mean, it wasn't just my bank balance that was worse off for their decision.
You're pure evil.
And you're just another man taking credit for a woman's work.
Now, Disney is a company where it's not just its box office tanking through the floor, its reputation is going along with it. And the most hilarious thing out of everything is that Bob thinks he can blame all of his problems on a guy who was CEO for under 2 years. The more he bangs on about it, the more it seems like the only reason he put him there in the first place is because because he knew what was coming down the pipe and wanted a fall guy. And what better fall guy for Bob than another guy called Bob? No wonder he didn't want to give him his office. He knew he'd be back later. There comes a point where something is so obvious, ignorance is no longer an excuse. And we've definitely reached that, not just with Hollywood, but specifically with Disney. If you can come up with 100 different reasons about why you're failing and none of them are the correct one, I'm going to assume it's deliberate. And when the only thing required to fix any of this mess is willpower, just the desire to take action against the people causing it and not care what the press thinks. I still come back to the original question, Bob. Are you intentionally trying to kill the company? Do you just not care about the company and you're just hanging in there for the money? Or are you a coward? Because those are the only real options that I can see for somebody who is so desperate to hold on to their position, getting paid tens of millions of dollars a year, will fight so hard over the executive control of the company, while simultaneously doing nothing to save it or turn it around. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.